Okay, hey, thank you for your interest in my class. I am Jerry Katzman. Welcome to this video. This video is being made because it's not going to be perfect either. I have a vocal issue, and as a result, I can't talk as much as I used to. So the conversation I'm going to have with you right now is one that I would normally have or used to have on the phone with people, but I just can't do it. I'm going to have it here with you, and let's consider this a confidential. Please don't share this video with anyone. If you do, I can't, well, I'm asking you not to. It's a pre-conversation to a conversation that we'll have to have. Typically, if you're getting this, it means that there's a space open or a waitlist space open in one of my classes. And this conversation is going to be an explanation of, you can hear my voice is not doing so great, an explanation of how the class works, some of the things that you're going to have to be able to do to take the class. There'll also be a little writing assignment, most likely at the end. I might have to stop this and jump back in, so you may get some cuts and edits and things. But essentially, I'm going to explain a lot about the class. You'll hear it, and either you'll go, wow, that was fascinating, I learned a lot, but this class is not for me, in which case, blessings to you, awesome. Or, wow, that's really interesting, and you'll do the little writing assignment, you'll send it to me in the time allotted, and then we'll then have a conversation once I know whether, typically what happens is we're full, but if you're getting this video, it means possibly there's a space open. And so you'll send me what you send me, I'll check to see if there's still a space open. If there is, great, we'll register you, which is its own little very easy process. Or if not, at least you got this cool intro to stand-up and got to get your hands dirty with some writing exercises. So that's the sort of deal we have. It's a win-win for you. If you're not interested in any of this, shut this off. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about me anymore. I wish you well. But if you're interested in kind of taking a little journey with me right now in this video conversation and doing a little work and then seeing if there's space available in my classes, great. This is not a guarantee of anything. It's just sort of an introductory conversation that we're going to have. I have a little cough lozenge, so you can hear that in my voice as well. Okay, so I apologize for the quick and unprofessional nature of this, but I've got to get this done now so that I can start saving my throat, and I think this will be fun anyway. So here's what's going to happen. We've won some awards for this class. It's a good class. I love this class, and I love the people who come out of this class. I've learned over the years to over-explain it before people take it, give you everything you need to know about sort of my philosophy and how the class works. That way, if you do take it, you're guaranteed to love it. And if you don't love it while I'm discussing it and having you work on it, great, you didn't have to waste any time on the class because you knew it wouldn't work for you. So let me go through the 4 things that I've discovered people need to be able to do in order to take my class. And then you'll be able to tell yourself whether it's the right class for you. I might even have you write some answers. So that's how we'll do this. So here's the first of the 4 things. And after each of these 4 things, write 1 to 10 where you fall on the spectrum. You'll understand what I mean. So the first thing you're going to need to be able to enjoy taking my class the way we teach stand-up. And I should say, there are lots of ways to learn how to ride a bike. There are training wheels, there are those push bikes, there's your dad or someone running behind you and letting go. A million different ways. Same thing with stand-up. So many different ways. We have one way, and I'm about to explain sort of how that looks. But if it doesn't work for you, don't worry about it. Go learn. And once, just like riding a bike, once you know, you know. So you don't ever have to come to me if you learn to ride with someone else. So no pressure. This is just in an attempt to be helpful to you. But for my way, the way we teach, the first thing you're going to need to be able to do in order to enjoy learning stand-up the way we teach it is you're going to have to be able to talk about yourself. This is interesting because sometimes people come to my class and they just want to talk about Instagram or airplane food, and that's totally fine. That's observational. It's about socks and commercials and things like that. That's cool. But the thing is this, I'm going to get you pretty great, or I'm going to try and get you really great at writing stand-up. And to do that, you're going to have to write a lot of jokes. And to write a lot of jokes, you're going to need topics that are substantive enough to write a lot of jokes about. So you might be able to write 3 jokes about Instagram, but you could write 100 jokes about being the daughter of a police officer, or being bipolar, or any of those types of things. So I hope I didn't just stop the recording. Good. My screen just shut off. So do you understand? So you need to have topics that are substantive enough to write a lot about. So, some examples of this. I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm married, I'm single, I'm divorced, I'm Indian, I'm Pakistani, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Chinese, my dad was a cop, my mom was bipolar. Whatever your life is about, that's what, and it can be as casual as I have roommates, I'm into reality television shows, I'm a crossword puzzle fanatic. Whatever your life is, that's what we want you writing about, because that's what's unique about you. And once you learn how to write 100 jokes about having a dad who's a cop or a police officer, then you'll have the skill to do a lot of things, including writing about, Popeye's chicken or whatever the smaller, less personal topic is. But intrinsic in this class is a willingness to talk about yourself. You don't have to talk about everything. I have students who are quite famous gay comedians right now, who in their first session with me never talked about being gay. They weren't ready to. That's totally fine. But they did talk about, their family or their job or stuff like that. So if you want to take my class, please have some kind of willingness to share about your life. And so what I'm asking you to do in this assignment, which I'm creating on the fly, is put number 1, this will count for question 1, are you willing to talk about your life, and rate it 1 to 10. 10, I'll talk about everything. I tell people I'm in therapy. I have no problem telling them anything. 1, we don't talk about things in my family. You're not getting anything out of me. So rate yourself on this, and now let's move on to the second of 4 things. Number 2, this is so fascinating and so interesting. In fact, people who I've had this conversation with, I'm waiting on a phone call too. This whole thing's completely famish, but that's okay. People I've had this conversation with have said that this thing that I'm about to teach you, this number 2 thing, is like when you go and do a wine tasting class, and then a week later you take a sip of wine, you go, oh, there's the oaky top notes, there's the smoky finish. This is going to change how you see stand-up. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to even explain it even more completely than I usually do. So hang tight, this one actually is worthwhile. We teach stand-up using a technique known as premise act out. Now, there are lots of different kinds of stand-up. There's storytelling, there's imponderable, there's set-up punchline. But when you're a kid and you're watching stand-up for the first time, the first thing you think when you watch Eddie Murphy or Ellen DeGeneres, you go, oh my God, that guy's such a genius. He made all of that up on the spot. But as you get older and more sophisticated, you go, oh, wait a second, I've seen him do the same thing on different TV shows. That's not all improvised. Okay, so then you think, he's a great storyteller. But when you listen to This American Life or The Moth and storytelling shows, and then you listen to stand-up, and you listen to how they talk on storytelling shows, they say, I watched as my grandfather held aloft the box of letters and saw as the sunlight played against his dappled fingertips, and you go, Louis C.K. never talks like that. So storytelling really isn't the same as stand-up. So okay, so it's not improvised, it's not storytelling. And then you think, oh, set up punchline, and you think about set up punchline jokes, but those typically, with some exception, are typically, when you hear those, they're being done in a Kimmel or a Fallon monologue, or even a Daily Show monologue, but that's not how Chris Rock sounds. Sort of very typical monologue or verbal mislead jokes. That's not how Jerry Seinfeld sounds. Their jokes are not happening because you misunderstood a word and then, aha, he actually meant that. So if stand-up really isn't improvised storytelling or set-up punchline, what is it? Well, what we teach is a thing called premise act out. The idea that most jokes have 2 parts, the premise and the act out. The true part, the part that's true, and then the part that's funny. And what I find is that where most people go wrong when they try to learn stand-up is they get those parts confused. They try to put the funny before the true, and it usually doesn't work out that well. So what's an example of a premise? A premise might be something, if you were writing about relationships, you might say something like, what's weird about relationships is that the thing that first attracts you to someone usually becomes the thing that drives you a little bit crazy about them. And the audience goes, oh yeah, that's so true. Or Dana Gould has one about living in Los Angeles. He says, the bizarre thing about LA is that people here are liberal, but they're selective about what they choose to be liberal about. And you go, yeah, Yeah, that's right. That's right. Chris Rock has one about strip clubs. He says the bizarre thing, what's bizarre about strip clubs is that every stripper seems to be trying to convince you that she's working her way through college. Notice, none of these are funny in and of themselves. So if you take anything away from this, even if you never watch another second of this video, take away the idea that for the most part, when you see stand-up, the first part is not, you're not trying to get the laugh on the first part. You're trying to get what I call the nod before the laugh, the aha before the ha-ha, right? This is why I say that stand-ups are funny philosophers, right? Half of what they're paying us for is the philosophical thing. The thing that makes an audience do one of two things. Either go, oh my God, I've never thought of that before, or oh my God, I've always thought of that but never put it into words like that before. Do you see? So the second thing you're going to need to be able to do to enjoy taking my class is you're going to need to be able to think analytically, philosophically, and insightfully. If you like doing that, you'll probably enjoy taking my class. And if you can't stand the idea of doing that, you probably won't enjoy that much. So again, now part 2, write the letter 2, the number 2. And write 1 to 10 how much you enjoy thinking analytically, philosophically, and insightfully. Let me just take a look. Nope, the person who's I'm waiting on has not contacted me yet. So embarrassing that I'm having to do that, but they're coming here from the airport. Okay. Number 3 of 4 things, you're doing great. God, I'm doing great. And that's when I put a jinx on this video. Number 3, the ability to make something funny. So in Chris Rock's joke about the strip clubs, well, let's watch how he goes from premise to act out. He says, what bugs me about strip clubs is that every stripper is trying to convince you that she's working her way through college. He says, if that's true, then how come I've never gotten a smart lap dance? And then he acts out a stripper grinding against him going, you know, Chris, if I were you, I'd diversify my portfolio, right? And that gets the laugh. Or Dana Gould's joke, he says, you know, what bugs me about LA is that people here are liberal, but they're selective about what they choose to be liberal about. He says, you know, you could be driving along Santa Monica Boulevard, see a 6-foot-tall guy wearing high heels, lipstick, and a fur coat masturbating into a mailbox, and you'll be like, hey, that better not be real fur. Right? A student of mine, Ian Owens, has a joke about being mixed, black and white. And he says, what bugs me about being mixed is that black people are always testing you to see if you're black enough. And then in the act out, he goes down to the basketball court. Black guy says, hold on, man, before you play with us, you have to answer some questions. Who is the best black basketball player in the NBA? Ian says, LeBron. He goes, okay, now for a hard one. Who is the black guy on Star Trek? Ian's like, Geordie LaForge or Lieutenant Worf? He's like, trick question. Black people don't know about Star Trek. All right, so notice each of these jokes has a turn, right? Almost like a rack focus shift in filmmaking, right? You think I'm upset about what the person's doing to the mailbox. I'm actually upset that they're wearing a coat, a particular kind of coat. You think that knowing the answer will get you into the game. It actually takes you out of the game. You see, there's something that happens, a shift. And the truth is, this type of logic, this focusing on the wrong thing, I don't know necessarily that that's something that can be taught in a class. What this class is about is taking people who do that in real life. So if you do that in real life, I can teach you how to do that on stage, and that's what we're good at. But if you don't do that in real life, then I'm not sure what I can do with you, and maybe it may not be the appropriate class for you. So number 3, 1 to 10, here's what the question I'm asking you. If you were in my class and you had 5 premises that were true but not funny, would you be able to come up with your trick question, black people don't know about Star Trek, that better not be real fur, if I were you, I'd diversify my portfolio? How confident are you, 1 to 10, that you could provide that for yourself? Because no one can provide that for you. You have to be able to create that little spark of genius for yourself. That's the funny part, right? So that's what I'm asking you. 1 to 10, how confident are you that you could provide that funny ingredient? And then finally, 4th, the ethos of my class is that nobody is funny unless everybody is funny. So what that means is when someone else is up there, I want you to have your notebook out writing down good ideas for them. And when you're up there, we're all going to have our notebooks out writing down good ideas for you, effectively turning the class into a writer's room for each other, which is like amazing. And in fact, one of the interesting things I think about this class is you learn not only how to write for other people, but you learn how to be written for, which I think is a pretty cool skill and one that's somewhat crucial. Certainly, you know, the late night hosts and talk show hosts that you enjoy, are being written for, and it's neat to learn how to, instead of quickly denying if someone pitches you a joke and going, no, that's not my style, right? To instead be humble and go, let me try and make that style work for me. Because if you do, you now have adopted an, what is it called? In oh my God, what's the word? Integrated. You've integrated a new style. Probably have to edit that out, but who knows? Moving on. So, the ethos of the class. Nobody's funny unless everybody's funny. People say that the class gets you 10 years good in 3 years' time. I think that that's true, and I think it comes down, we're almost done, by the way. I think that comes down to 3 factors. The first is that the atmosphere is so loving. I don't know if you're catching it from me, but it is, we are a really special place to learn comedy, and we really believe in the kindness of comedy. So that's my personal thing about comedy, and it's why people, I think, I wish I could edit this out. Anyway, you get it. 1, the atmosphere. 2, the technique, solid. 3, in addition to class once a week, there's a once weekly rehearsal. It is mandatory. It is not even remotely optional. And that is because stand-up doesn't get better unless you speak it out loud in real life, typically to other people. So you can't skip on that part. And how that works is, in the middle of class, I'll say to people, hey guys, let's schedule groups. Class meets once a week, typically. In the middle of it, I'll say schedule group. People say, I can meet, Saturday. Let's assume class is on a Monday night. I can meet Saturday at noon in Los Feliz. I can meet Sunday at 3 in the Valley. I can meet Friday at 7 in Venice. So you pick whichever one of those works best for you on that given week. It can change every week based on all of your guys' in your class schedule. End of class, I'll give an assignment. You'll go home, you'll write the assignment, you'll go to group, you'll give feedback, you'll get feedback, you'll go home, you'll take 20 minutes to change the material to match the feedback that you got from your classmates. Very important. You can't just ignore that great feedback. You got to use it or they won't want to write for you anymore. And then you'll come back to class the following week. And as I said, if you don't, with music, I can write a song in my room, play it out, people can love it. Paint a painting, sell it at a gallery. But stand-up needs to be spoken out loud to other people. You cannot skip groups. So we need people who will show up to groups on time with their work done, not be flaky, not be texting all during group, not be rushing to get their homework done right there in group or during class. You've got to be able to show up prepared, be there, be supportive, not be critical, be a great team player. Is that something you can do? 1 to 10. So you've got 4 questions to answer. 1 to 10, how willing are you to talk about your life? Number 2, 1 to 10, how much do you like to think analytically, philosophically, insightfully? Number 3, how able do you think you are, how ready and willing and able are you to create, forget ready and willing, how able are you to create the funny parts to the true part, the funny part, the act out of the joke? Are you confident? How confident are you that you can really hit it? And number 4, 1 to 10, are you a great team player? So those are the 4 questions that you need to answer. Now you're welcome to ask me any questions. I'm also going to maybe chop this in half. That might be the first part. So if so, goodbye, get back to me on those. And if not, watch this. What is this? This is the writing assignment that I am giving people. Now again, just like this video, it is confidential. Please do not share this with anyone. That's just something I'm asking you to do. Here's the 2 parts, very straightforward writing assignment. The first part, I want you to write down 5 things. 5 things that, sorry, I'm getting things on my screen. 5 things that you've said in real life on purpose to make someone laugh. 5 things that you've said in real life, had to be in real life, on purpose, can't be a happy accident, had to say it on purpose, had to be original to you, that you said in real life to make someone laugh. So I was in an elevator, or it's an example of something. A friend said to me, a former manager who loved to drink all the time or be hungover all the time, said, what supplement should I take for my hangovers? And I said, vitamin AA, right? Alcoholics Anonymous, and that made him laugh. I'm looking for your examples. In an elevator, an old woman said, someone was looking at their phone, and they said, she said, I don't think people should use technology in public. And they said, then why are you on an elevator, right? So those types of things, I'm looking for clever, high cleverness level things that you've said in real life on purpose. Someone said, I liked you better when you used to drink. And you said, I liked you better when I used to drink. It doesn't have to be zingers. Just very funny, clever things that you've said over your lifetime. Write 5 of those down. And the second part, and you're going to text these to me, and the second part, or email them to me. I'm not sure how we're doing this, but however we're doing it, we're doing it. The second part, write down, one of my students was writing about depression, and he had read an article in the New York Times that said that so many people are suffering from depression. They're taking antidepressants. The antidepressant medication is going into, it goes through their body, out through their pee, out into the ocean, through the sewer, out into the ocean, and the fish and the wildlife are absorbing this excess antidepressant. So now what we have, for all intents and purposes, are fish on antidepressants. So, or happy fish. So your job, if you get that concept, that premise, is to write 5 funny things about fish on antidepressants, or happy fish, right? So you might write, Disney's coming out with a sequel called Finding Nemo, a New Therapist. Or you might say, I opened a can of sardines and they were cuddling. Or humpback whales are now standing up tall and proud. Or I guess that explains why Tom Cruise is picketing sushi restaurants. You can write any number of jokes. You know, they used to be called cants of tuna. Any number of jokes. So it's sort of like target practice, both of these. The first one is like skeet shooting. Your mom said this and then you said that, bang. You know, your boss said this and you said that, bang, right? And the second one's more like archery. You put a target up that says fish on antidepressants and you just shoot 5 arrows directly into that. So put those together. So your assignment now is the 4 questions with 1 to 10 answers, and then the 5 funny things you've said, the 5 things that are about fish on antidepressants, and you will send those to me in some form or another. Typically, probably this is happening over email, though it could be happening over text. The last 2 things I'm going to say to you are this. 1, if I've read it, I will respond, and if I haven't responded, know that that probably means I haven't read it. The reason I have that rule for myself is I myself as a writer have submitted something to friends of mine, not heard something back, and assumed that they hated it, bumped into them months later and said, oh, you hated the thing I sent you. They go, no, we've never even read it. I go, oh, for months I've been thinking you thought it sucked. So that's why if I've read something, I'll respond. If I have not responded, it means I haven't read it. And secondly, as you can tell from this video, I hope, I care very, very much. Okay, the person I was waiting for showed up, and so that's why there's a little break in the action there. But to finish up, I care so much about this class, and I'm the only one who, you know, if I were a doctor, you'd be able to make a reservation and talk to my nurse or talk to my assistant. They'd be able to do all this. But as of right now, the only way I've ever been able to do this to the standard that I like is to do it myself, to have conversations like this and to read the things that people send me and to just get people involved in this class. That way there can be no confusion, since I'm probably going to be your teacher. As of right now, I'm the only teacher as well. So because I have, say, 30 different students to tend to and my own agents and managers and people that I work with, you know, the only trouble with this high-touch person-to-person type of model that I'm using to run this is that every great once in a while, something may slip through the cracks, a text or an email or something like that. If that should happen, this is my only request. Do not make it about you, and do not make it about me. Don't do what most people do. Oh, he hates me, or worse, oh, or just as bad, he's such a jerk. Neither of those is true. Just make the interpretation be, my gosh, Jerry Katzman is trying so hard to help so many people. He must be overwhelmed. He must have missed this text. Believe me, I'm working on it. I probably need an assistant of some kind, but as of yet, I haven't gotten the mix down, and this is the one area that we're still really working on to try to solve. So if ever during your class participation or the intake process, something goes and it doesn't get back to you, or you don't get the response that you wanted as quickly as you want, please just text me again or call me again or email me again and help me help you. And just understand it's just a result of me trying to be so good and give my best to so many people. That's it. I suppose the next move is for you to having heard this, you've got, say, 4 days to complete your assignment. So whatever right now is, whatever day it is today, if today is Thursday, then go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday at midnight is when you can get the assignment back. And just write, you can do it in pieces too. You can just give me the first 4 questions right now, and then the longer assignment you can do by then. Then give me a few days to a week to figure out whether I've got space in the class for you. You can text me at any time, or call me at any time, or email me at any time. Just again, keeping that last part in mind, to just be gentle and kind and forgiving as I try to manage every single person and give you the best possible experience that I can. I hope this lesson / intro comes across with all the sincerity and love and encouragement with which it is intended. There are a million different ways to learn stand-up, and our class is only one of them. But if this is interesting to you, I look forward to trying to make something work for you. And if this isn't interesting, or if it doesn't work for you, good luck no matter where you go. This entire thing is meant to encourage and enlighten and inspire, and I hope I've done that. Ultimately, I had a good friend of my grandfather who used to say, I'd rather make a friend than a sale. So keep me in mind as your friend and your ally in whatever you want to do in this world. If I can be helpful to you, then that's what I want to be. Have a good one, and look forward to speaking with you or interacting with you soon. Bye-bye.